it's story time. So I'm going to be reading Planet Tepes. This is my little novelette, which is a Dracula retelling if it was set in space and a space opera. I was really inspired after seeing Nosferatu, and you know me, I am crazy about vampires. So if you like vampires and you're not afraid of a lot of spice, well then this one's for you. Now I'm only going to read a little bit because again, you don't want to get banned on these apps, but I definitely want to give you a little taste. It goes from the past to the future. 1500 Spain. See for yourself the beauty of the savage world that we will tame. Valeria was the name she was given by the priest who taught her the basics of their language during their journey and the time she spent here. She had to be of service. Guests of the king stared at her and whispered. She wanted to cry and felt so alone in this moment. She didn't have time to grieve her mother who died not 3 days before. Valeria could not practice her medicine here to help her mother. The priest of this god she didn't know said it was his will her mother died. Alone and angry, she stood there like an image carved in stone. A shadow on the back wall of the giant ballroom caught her eye. She thought it was from the flickering candles in the many candelabras. It seemed to move like an entity from one of the 9 worlds of Mictlan, like it had a life of its own. Her breathing shortened and her entire body felt warm. She followed it until the crowd parted just enough to see him at the very back. His gaze crossed the room and she could almost feel his presence in front of her. She knew in an instant he was not like the others. She had channeled in rituals before and knew what this sensation was. When her mother channeled, it was the same feeling. There were beings and worlds humans didn't understand. Since childhood, she could sense them. Was he a god who stowed on the boat here and now made himself known? But he was not like any god from the stories of where she was from. He was tall, his arms long, and hung to his side. A thick brown mustache covered his upper lip. It matched the thick hair that fell to his shoulders. His jacket had gold buttons. It was foreign-looking clothing like the others. But it was thicker, much too thick for the temperature in the room. The fabric looked coarse, unlike the refined style of the Spanish royalty and other aristocrats. Musicians began to play from the corner of the room. Women walked towards her and smiled as they stared at her piercings that were normal to her. They seemed in awe. Some giggled. Another touched her long hair that fell to her waist. The men tried not to stare, stealing side glances that moved the length of her body. The stranger, who didn't seem to fit in, walked on the outer perimeter near the walls. She tried not to make it obvious she followed his movement, even though she did. His gaze felt like hot, melted candle wax on her skin. The intensity increased the closer to her, like the flicker of a flame. His strides were giant, yet very few paid him any attention. She glanced around the room, feeling thirsty. She wondered if she could have a little water, anything to calm her racing heart. And then a cold hand touched her bare arm. Her eyes stopped on his shiny black boots. His feet were enormous. Slowly, her gaze traveled the length of his dark brown trousers to his long arms, and shirt had what looked like red rocks for buttons on the neck. And then he looked into her eyes. His striking black eyes made her certain she was standing in front of a god, and if not a god, then a spirit that came from another world, a realm between this one and out there. She could see her reflection in his eyes. They pulled her closer to him because he towered over her, but she liked that. She liked the idea of being consumed by this man who moved like a shadow. He had a sharp jaw with his upper lip covered by a mustache. "You do not belong here," he said. His voice was deep and rich in an accent not like the Spanish. It was harsher, like a Rocky Mountain face. "Do you?" He gave her a half smile. "And clever." "What are you doing here?" he asked. This question brought tears to her eyes. She shook her head. "They took me away from my home. I do not know why." He touched her hand and clasped it, bringing it to his lips. His mouth and her flesh sent waves of desire through her. The hair of his mustache teased her skin. As he pulled away, a dampness remained. Her instinct was to run, her other hand through his hair. She wondered what it would feel like to be possessed by him, her body controlled by his whim. I know what it feels like to not be at home. And there you go, available now.